What is going on, guys? My name is Lextasy and welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for joining me for another video. This one is really wild and really juicy. As many of you already know, I own a lot of businesses and I work full-time, and of course I do YouTube where we build 1,000 horsepower Durangos. Well, this one's about to be 1,000 horsepower, and we build a whole bunch of different style of cars. We also race them and we also break them. So if that's something that you like, definitely click that subscribe button because you are going to love this channel. So today we're going to be talking about two of my vehicles that I own for the rental business. It is a 2015 C7 ZO6 Corvette with the ZO7 package that was actually modified to about 650 wheel horsepower, and a 2014 Audi R8 V10. So both vehicles went out on a rental. One of them got impounded, one of them the renter went to jail, and one of them got joyridden by police. So this is a wild video. In those 48 hours of all this going down, it was very stressful for somebody that owns the business because you're talking about $200,000 worth of cars that are in a situation. But luckily now I can smile about it because for the most part everything turned out good for me and for the renter. So without further ado, guys, let's get this video going because that was wild. What a wild story. Let's go. So for anybody that already owns luxury car rental business or exotic car rental business, or you just rent out regular standard cars, what I'm about to say I'm pretty sure gonna 100% agree with. And for anybody that wants to get into this business, please listen when I tell you, you don't need to have extremely fast or high horsepower vehicles for them to get rented out. In my case, I had a 2015 C7 ZO6, which is a Corvette that has from itself, in fact, like 650 horsepower, but this one was nicely modified. It was a beautiful white on red interior. There was so much going on that car, and for whatever reason I thought it was a good idea to rent it out, but literally every time it went out it had damages on it. So if you're getting started and you want to focus on nice rentals, this Durango is not for rent, but I have Mercedes, BMWs, things like that. So just get yourself a nice BMW with a nice trim level. It doesn't have to be the highest one. You could just get a base Corvette Stingray, and I promise you it's going to get rented as much as a C7 ZO6, but it's going to be less hassle, less chance of someone wrecking it because less horsepower, to be honest with you. So for anybody that hasn't seen, I already did a video of a previous story of my BMW X5 getting stolen by a renter. So I'm going to drop a link below after you get done watching this video. Go ahead and click on that one and see what you think. But in this case, I'm going to keep all the names out of it. So I'm going to make up names. So both renters, I'm going to name one Mike, one John. And there is a lawsuit going on from what I understand. It's still active. I'm not part of it. I don't want to have anything to do with it, but it's just a wild story. So let's get it going. So on September 5th, if I'm not mistaken, which was definitely a few months ago, two of my buddies reached out about renting a Corvette ZO6 and renting an Audi R8 V10 that I just got. These are my babies. Love these cars. Photos everywhere, like I'll post them up right now so you can kind of see beautiful cars. Both have modifications done to them. They're just nice vehicles, and every time they go out they get a lot of views, a lot of looks, you know, people are taking photos of them. It's a good advertisement for me as well. The Corvette ZO6 on the other hand has always had issues. Every time it came back, whether the convertible roof latch was broken, they put regular freaking fuel in there even though it's 93, clearly someone trying to save money, or they go over the mileage, or they break the carbon fiber aero package on it, which is stupid expensive. A front lip on that car is, if I'm not mistaken, almost $1,200 to $1,400 because it was real carbon fiber. Side skirts as well. So it was a very, very expensive vehicle, highly modified, highly optioned out. So in this case, my buddy Mike and John reached out and they're like, hey, we just want to go to the lake in Georgia. I know there's a little bit of a mileage limiting factor there, you know, can you hook us up? I said no problem, took care of it. It picked up the vehicles, I think I want to say Saturday morning if I'm not mistaken, and they're going to head out, you know, come back in 2-3 days. So not a problem at all. Love these guys. I'll tell you one thing about John. John is wild. John, if you're watching this, you know what I'm about to say. This dude, like, is the most wildest guy I've ever met, in a good way, I guess you could say. But like, he at the car meets, car shows, if we go to Mexico, dude, this guy will lay down some rubber. He's not afraid of anything. He will also have your back in almost every situation. Not a problem at all. You just say a word and he's there to have your back. So really cool dudes. Same goes with Mike. Mike and John took both cars out. Mike took the R8 and John took the Corvette. So they both headed out, I think, to Georgia, to a lake there, a few hundred miles away, I think, from here. So it's cool, man. They're sending me videos and photos of them just cruising down the highway and getting looks and, you know, racing little bit, totally fine. I mean, I expect you to have fun when you take my cars out. That's the whole point. I would do it too. I even had fun in the Scat Pack in Texas one time when I was renting it out, because that's what you get a sports car for, with the, you know, V8 engine. So they're cruising to have fun. So what I do is every morning for my rental business, like, I just check up on my car. So I have, of course, multiple trackers on every vehicle in case of anything going wrong, to actually for the safety of the customer as much as for the safety of the vehicle as well. So in case it gets stolen or robbed or something happens, we have proof of it, but we also can track the vehicle down and get it back, like we did in the X5 situation. So every morning I check on my vehicles to make sure they're still in the area, nothing sketchy going on, they're not in California already, in Mexico, nothing like that. So I was checking on my cars and I clicked on the Corvette. So this is Sunday morning now. I wake up around like 7, 8 o'clock, and all right, cool. It's in the area with a little bit of bad reception, but you know, it's parked, it's good. You can see it's chilling, nothing, you know, everything's legit. I click on the Corvette, and the Corvette is parked at a tow yard. Dude. And when you see a vehicle in the tow yard, that is never a good thing. Never. Like, you automatically start thinking of the worst thing that could have happened, especially on a Corvette ZO6 that has 650 horsepower. This one had close to 700, 750. So, I mean, the first thing you think is, oh my God, something happened to the renter, but you don't have any text messages, phone calls, nothing from them, so it must be okay with them. But the car's in the impound lot. So the first thing I did is I start looking at the tracker, and I'm gonna post up while I'm talking different screenshots I took of the tracker and what was happening. Yeah, so the night before, stuff went down. Clearly stuff went down, because there were some high speeds on back roads, which, you know, it's everybody's done that, let's be honest here. So, you know, I'm like really trying to stay calm, because these are my buddies. You know, if it was somebody else, I probably would have been already hauling butt to Georgia to figure out what's going on with my car. So I text John, I'm like, hey man, I just want to make sure everything was cool at night, no issues, you're having fun. And if I remember correctly, he called me, and I was like, oh boy. So he picks up the phone, he calls me, he's like, hey man, real quick, I'm driving right now, so I can't talk much, but it was something happened last night. I wasn't there, I don't know what happened. We kind of split off after we got some food at a restaurant. I went home, John stayed, and yeah, so now he's in jail. Car, I think, got impounded, and I don't know the whole story. We're trying to figure it out, but I'm heading there now because it's something must have happened. So I'm gonna go get the vet, and we'll go from there. But I don't know what's going on. Somebody said that he was pulling out of a restaurant, giving somebody a ride, I guess, to, you know, give him a ride in the ZO6, and either he was drunk or wasted, or he backed into a vehicle, but something happened and somebody called the cops on him when he took off. He got pulled over, now he's in jail, car got impounded. And also somebody said that the RA got backed into, and I was like, what? And he's like, no, I gotta go, man, I don't know yet, I don't know anything, I'll call you back. And I was like, that is the worst way to leave a sentence or a conversation, saying, hey, your car got impounded and the RA just got backed into, don't know, haven't looked at it, we'll figure it out. So now I get off the phone like, oh my God, at least everybody's safe, nobody, you know, nobody's dead, everybody's alive. Sounds like the cars are in decent shape, not a problem. So I'm like, I don't know what to think, but clearly it's like a 3-hour drive for me, not worth panicking over. These are good friends of mine, so they're gonna figure it out. They're gonna let me know. I mean, clearly I know that they're safe. So a few hours pass, he goes to the impound lot or the tow yard and gets the car out, and he calls me. He's like, hey man, just got the vet out, driving to jail to get John out of jail, and there is a little bit of damage on the front end. Looks like they tore off the front lip, and yeah, we got some damage, but I got all the parts. Car drives fine, so we should be okay. And I'm like, oh God, man, just send me pictures of the damage whenever you get a chance, because as soon as somebody says any damage on the Corvette, any damage, first off, it's fiberglass, right? Which is almost, the Corvette always gets totaled out, even if it's got just minor damage on it, because the body itself is fiberglass, which is really hard. You can't really repair it, you have to replace it, and you can't really replace Corvette body panels that well, or it's hard to find, so they get totaled out. But when you say even the lips of it, the carbon fiber, it's so expensive. It's thousands of dollars for every piece, and you have to wait like 2 to 4 months to get anything right now. So that was like, man, at least the car's fine. Just I hope I get them back, and I can we'll fix this. Just give me my cars back, you know. That's what I'm thinking. So about 2 to 3 hours pass, and Mike sends me this random text, and he was like, hey man, was the car driven after 12:30 p.m. or a.m. I guess at that point at night? And I was like, that's really weird. So I start looking, I'm like, I send him screenshots. Okay, so here's what I can see from the tracker itself. So I don't have the full story yet. Clearly it's very faded from 2 different point of views, but what I can see on the tracker, and I'm posting it up here now for you to see, is around 12 o'clock midnight to 12:10 or so, the Corvette takes off, And everything happens within like half a mile of the restaurant, either way. So you can see he is booking it on this back road. Gets a little bit up there in the speed, you know, a little 3 digits. And then he busts a U-turn, comes right back around where the restaurant is the other way for about half a mile. And then pulls another U-turn and then is parked almost directly across from the restaurant in the parking. And then it stays there from like 12:30 till about 1:12 in the morning. And then after that, you can see that at 1:12, it makes another turn and another U-turn. So it makes another mile, 2 mile lap around and then parks again. And then like 1:30, 1:40 gets picked up and dropped off at the tow yard. So I'm like, yeah, after the 12:30 or so, it did make another trip. It was driven again. Then Mike sends me a bunch of messages, and I'm not gonna screenshot those because the conversation is, you know, I don't know what's going on right now with the lawsuit and all, but he's like, dude, they freaking drove your car. And I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, they legitimately, the cops joyrode in your car. So I was like, how do you know that, man? Like, where are you getting this information from? And he was like, well, when I was at the tow yard picking up the car, they told me that one of the police officers was like, hey man, be careful with this thing because it's really wild and it's fast. And so he said it kind of threw the tow yard, the record driver or whatever off, and was like, man, how would he know that? I mean, it's a Corvette, I get it, but it really sounded like he knew something. So when I told Mike that, like, yeah, they did drive the car, man. I mean, it took another lap around. I couldn't see the exact speeds because it takes about 30 seconds for the tracker to update itself location wise. So I mean, in 30 seconds, you get up to 100 and back, slow down again on the Corvette, no problem at all. So especially if you're doing half a mile each way runs. John is actually both of them are military, you know, so this is a big deal. To get put in jail, locked up in jail is big. And I get that, you know, and in this case, it just sucks. It really was something misfortunate, a turn of events, but it worked out hopefully in a good way for them. So they finally, a few hours later, get John out of jail. So at this point, I'm ready for the whole story. I need to figure out what's going on. Cars are fine. They're clearly driving them, so I know at least that part is fine. But what went down? Like, I get it that somebody thinks that, you know, someone called the cops on somebody and got pulled over. I don't know if he went to jail because of DUI or what happened. So I'm on the phone with John at this point, and I was like, dude, just tell me what happened. Let's get the story right. So here's what happened. He said that while he was at the restaurant, there was a kid or a guy or somebody that came up, was like, dude, I just want a ride in the car, man. And, you know, he said he wanted to kind of promote my business or whatever, so give him a ride. So whether that's true or not, it doesn't matter. I would give anybody a ride anyways. I don't care if it's a Corvette or Corolla or the R8. They're really nice cars, and I would do it for anybody. So he said that they did take off from the restaurant, you know, around midnight or so, which is exactly what we've seen, and was doing a nice little hot lap on the Corvette, busted a U-turn and was coming right back through across from, or coming right by the restaurant, going the other way. So whenever he was going the other way and he was making a U-turn again, this is where it kind of, it was like the worst case scenario happened, because he pulled out in front of a cop. He did not know it is pitch black darkness. He didn't see, he just seen a car that was coming on the road. So when he made a U-turn, he just mashed it because he didn't want the car to catch up and, you know, rear end him or anything like that. So he got on it. And on that Corvette, I promise you guys, I don't care if you're a professional driver or not, you will lose track. That is the most scariest car I've ever driven or owned. I've owned 1,000 horsepower Hellcats. I've owned all kinds of cars, but that is one ride that I will never own again, and that's a Corvette. I mean, you can laugh at me, you can say whatever you want. That car is so unpredictable that I don't like it. I legitimately don't like GM products. But when that happened, I guess the cop pulled him over because, you know, at this point it's reckless driving or whatever you want to call it. So when he pulled John over, he came up to the window, got a little bit, I guess, I don't know if he got an attitude with him or whatever, but pretty much said, hey, you know, that was messed up, shouldn't be doing that, reckless driving, blah, blah, blah. Have you been drinking? And John said, yeah, I mean, I had a few beers a little while ago, but yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I did. And the cop said, well, are you okay to do a breathalyzer test? And Jake said, no, I'm not gonna do it. And I guess in Georgia, if you decline any sort of test like that for DUIs, DWIs, whatever, it's automatic DUI. Like, you automatically get booked to jail. You go to jail because of declining to do a test on the scene, I guess. So I think it was a breathalyzer test is what he declined to do. So they automatically put him in the cuffs, put him in the car around 12:30 or so, and they took him to jail. So when that happened, that's when the cops took the car, I guess, and went for a joyride. And so while he was there getting, you know, bailed out of jail, that's when the cops were, you know, Mike was having a nice, I guess, agreement or disagreement or argument with the station there, with the sergeants and stuff about the whole situation. Like, yo, we have proof your guys drove the car. And they said, no, we would never do that. I can't believe you would bring that up. So it was happening. This stuff was getting really heated real quick because now we have a lawsuit. I mean, we have something to go off of, evidence that, hey, they are doing some illegal stuff at this county, you know, department, sheriff's department, police department, whatever it is. So at this point, they get out of there. So I guess while John was driving back already, they were coming back to Asheville, the police officer that pulled him over, the one that did all the report and did everything and drove the car, was telling John not to file any sort of reports. Don't make any complaints, please. You know, I drove it. It is what it is. Just don't do it. But I mean, at this point, you're talking about not only did they do that, but they also lost his Cadillac key from his vehicle, which is like $500, which was in the Corvette. Somehow that got misplaced. But there was a lot happening that happened that when we got the cars back, it was not the same condition that we got it in. So in the photos you're seeing here now, the front right side of the lip was tore off. The side, I forgot what it's called, little splitter was tore off as well. On the driver's side, there was a massive like spiderweb crack on the carbon fiber. So clearly, what I hate about that side skirt is a lot of people, when they get out of the Corvette being so low, they just step on it. And when you step on it, I mean, it's carbon fiber, it automatically cracks. And also was chipped underneath. So there was a lot of damage on the side skirts. The driver's side, I'm guessing what happened was either when someone was driving it or when it was getting put on the record, it just got damaged. But that sucked. I knew about the damage because they bought the pieces. They sent me photos of it as well. This whole thing was really stressful, to say the least. So now I know about that. And so when they get the cars back, I'm trying to figure out what happened to R8, man. Like, where did the damage come from? I still don't know to this day what the true story is. Did somebody back into it? Did the Corvette back into the R8 and then everything happens? I don't know, but you can see a little bit of a damage there. Luckily, it had the paint protection film all around, which I automatically 100% recommend to every car. I don't care what you're driving, get paint protection film or ceramic coat. But what I did is literally just peel the film off, and the little, I guess, paint marks on it just came right off. So there was no like true damage. There's a little bit of dents on the bumper, but nothing big. So a few weeks passed by, and I thought it was done, right? I knew the damage was there. They were my friends, so I didn't want to charge them for it. So I spent about close to probably $2,000 to pay for parts to fix on this Corvette, even though I didn't get much for rentals, a few $100 on the rental. So I lost money on that rent. So a few weeks passed by, and John sends me a link to the county news, I don't know what to call them, like the news channel or whatever for that county, that did a massive article on this county police department. Because turns out there was an inside whistleblower that said, hey, when this lawsuit started, because if you think about it, this is a big deal for somebody that's military. I mean, they could get dishonorably discharged. A lot of things can happen if you have a DUI on your record. I mean, it ruins your whole career. So he got a lawyer, John got a lawyer, and then that lawyer reached out to the news place, and the news place got somebody, a whistleblower from the inside, that told them, and I'm going to post the article up here, that this isn't the first time this has happened. They are known for driving for driving for people's vehicles when stuff like this happens, DUI and stuff like that. So this whole thing exploded. It was all over Facebook. I shared the link, which is weird. It's kind of gone now, but I found the article still on the news channel. So I guess they just took it off Facebook because it was getting shared everywhere, which is bad publicity for the police department there. The police officer did admit to driving the car afterwards, which clearly you can't not do that whenever, you know, you got busted for doing it. So this just turned into a massive scene. I don't have anything to do with it. I don't care about it. Like this, I just gave my car back. I'll fix it, put it back on the road. That's it. I don't want to have any, I'm not suing the police department, anything like that. One day, the person that you think, a 50-year-old old lady that seems innocent is nice, is the one that steals your BMW X5. You know, it's just, you don't know what can happen in every situation. And the person you think is just super shady, and there's you try to watch the tracker probably every hour or so, is the one that brings it back in the most pristine, clean condition you've ever seen, fueled up and even washed. You know, you just don't know. But it's just such a wild ride. So I just got an update from Mike, because I want to get the permission to share this story, because I don't know if it's an ongoing case or not. So whenever this happened, the police officer was suspended for 2 weeks without pay, but now it looks like the officers were fired. So I guess there was more than one that went through this, or something happened. There were 2 Towns County deputies that were fired because of that. So in a way, it's kind of good that it happened with my car, because we're able to use the trackers to see exactly what it happened, and we had evidence. Because, you know, it's your word against the police officer, which again, I love them. I have like 12 tickets on my record, so clearly it is my fault for the stuff I've done. that was like 6 years ago. But there is a rotten apple in every department, every business, any career you take. It just happens. Nobody's perfect. This was that was an extremely intense story because, like I said, guys, those cars are amazing, great money cars to be honest with you, but you got to be ready for those stories. Now, usually you get really high-end clients that do it. When the Corvette actually went out again after that rental, after I replaced all the parts, he destroyed the front lip on that one too. So that Corvette, he paid up out of pocket. He paid cash for a new front lip again, which was carbon fiber. So that was easy, really good client. And then the next rental went out again. I'm driving at midnight, about 11 o'clock actually at night on the one of the roads here. It's a 4-lane road or 2 lanes each way. And I legit see a white Corvette at a red light take off, make a left turn and get sideways, and he's booking it, man. I'm like, there's no way, right? There's no way that can't be my car. So I have trackers, like I said, on each car, and if they get over 90 miles an hour or 100 miles an hour, I get an automatic notification of excessive speed. So I can kind of pay attention to what's going on, make sure I'm up to date if this, you know, something's happening illegally. So I'm like, okay, that was, I don't know if that was my car yet. So about 10 seconds later, I get a notification of them doing 110 miles an hour on the 45, right? So normally, like I said, I'd never reach out to anybody. But in that case, since I personally seen the situation, I text them like, hey man, I have never reached out to a renter because, you know, enjoy the car. But when you're doing 110, I have to say something. So I did have a word or two with that. No response from the renter, except he brought it back clean and just said, hey, the keys are hidden away, thanks. He did not want to see me. I wasn't mad. It's just, it's a dangerous situation, guys. But rental business is a very lucrative business, great money, but there's a risk every time it goes out. Like when you have 11 cars that are gone, like right now I have about 8 that are rented. Anything can happen with those 8 cars right now. I could get a phone call from 2 of them and just, it'll be the end of it. Like they could be totaled. Like I had a call on Christmas Day on the 25th of my car that got totaled, one of my Toyotas. It was sad. I was literally walking to my dinner table to eat Christmas lunch with the family, and I get a call that, you know, they were in a bad wreck. So it's frustrating, it sucks, it's nerve-wracking for you, for the renter, of course. I'm always hoping that they're okay, but I have so many more stories to tell, guys. It was wild. It was legitimately wild because on the tracker, when it pulled over, I thought the car was gone. I thought the car wrecked. I thought something massive happened. It really was a big deal because you don't expect the car to be joyridden by a police officer. And when it was, I mean, we cracked down and we found the bad apples and they got fired. So without further ado, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like what you've seen, drop a like, drop a comment, subscribe. Enjoy your cars, enjoy your lives, and I will see you next time. Peace.